There we go. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I am James Cook. My office is in, so I've only had it for about 3 weeks, I don't know it yet. DeMoss 4382M. Do you guys know where that is? I hardly know either. But if you go to the fourth, you guys know where the math department is? On the 4th floor? So that like long hallway on the back of the building, right? If you go all the way down to the end, there's this interdisciplinary suite, and my office is one of those in there, all right? So that's where that is. Office hours. I'll tell you those. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12:50 to 2:10, and Tuesday, Thursday from 11 to 2. All right, so those are my office hours. Of course, you can also reach me by email. My email is jcook4. All right. Let's see here. So what should I tell you about this class? Of course, this is a class in college algebra. How many of you have recently taken the class before this? A few. How many of you, it's been like 2 years since you did algebra? Yeah, a lot of people. You guys are freshmen, right? Yeah. See, this is unfortunate. So, but you will remember. It will come back, right? So I would remind you, you need to get started on the homework right away. There's a homework due Saturday. It has 50 problems in it. Most of them won't take too long, but you do need to start chipping away at it. Now, you start working on that Wednesday. You got questions about something you couldn't do, you can ask them, right? We can talk about them Wednesday, right? Or if you're very ambitious, you can come talk to me about them in office hours tomorrow if you want, after you try them, okay? So let me just talk to you about the grades. So let's see here. I have participation. That's 60 points. All right. Quizzes. 90 points. Tests. 450 points. Homework. 200 points. And finally, final exam. What do we got here? 200 points. So if you read the announcement, did you guys get the announcement that I sent out yesterday? You may or may not have. It depends on how you have Canvas configured, right? If you've got it configured so you don't get notifications, then you didn't get my announcement, right? Unless you happen to look at Canvas this morning, right? So that's up to you. You can set it up how you want, but I would, if I were you, I would have it email me the announcements so that I knew what my professor was telling me, you know? Used to be, with the previous learning management system, we could just email from the LMS, but now they have it so you can turn off the emails, which is, I think, kind of bad, because if I've got something urgent to tell you about the class and I make an announcement about it and you don't have announcements turned on, then you weren't notified unless you happen to be camping out over Canvas, right? I don't know. If I were you, I would turn on notifications in Canvas. Okay, so anyway, less of an issue with this class. That would be more of an issue with like a higher level class where I sometimes, like, you know, maybe write a homework problem which is impossible to solve for something, and I want to tell the class, stop wasting your time. You know, that won't happen in here. All right. So let's talk about this. Quizzes. How many quizzes are there? There are 3. All right. I have 3 quizzes in here. right? When are they? Well, this thing I just handed out to you here, right? If you look on there, September 14th is quiz 1, right? And October 19th is quiz 2. Yep. Oh, you didn't get one? Yeah, you also need one? Yeah, if you hand that back. Hand that back. Oh, sorry. So, yeah, now this is the attachment to the announcement I made yesterday, yeah? So you have a PDF copy of this if you look at that announcement, I believe. So I would, most of your classes won't have this. This is something I make of my own volition because I need something that's more organized than Canvas. I want one page that has everything in the course. That's what this page is. All right? I hope that helps you. So this basically is the course, right? There's just a few things missing, like participation. I haven't broken down day by day how participation happens. This is a lot of different things. This could be helping with the camera. It is certainly regularly attending class as part of the participation grade. We'll have exercises we do in class. That'll be part of the participation grade. There are 3 participation grades in the grade book. What I'm going to do is while you're taking quiz 1, I'm going to look back through the record of Top Hat and see how you did. All right? And if you did well, then you'll get all 20 points for that period. All right? So it'll be like 3 times in the semester I assess participation. I think everybody should earn these 60 points. As long as you come to class, do your work, I would be surprised if you didn't earn that, at least that. Does that make sense? Okay, so this does not appear anywhere broken down further in Canvas, right? Like I'm not going to go in and put little stubs in the different modules every time we're doing an in-class exercise. That would be, I think, counterproductive, and it would just make too much noise in the organization of the course. All right, tests, there are 3 tests as well, right? Each test is worth how much? 150 points. So do you guys know how the points work here? You already told. So every course you take here will have 1,000 points. The way it works is, at least in undergraduate courses, 900 to 1,000 or more, if you have bonus, is an A, right? 800 to 899.999 is a B. I'm just kidding. I usually round up 899.9, but 9.8, 899.8, that's a B. Okay, I'm still joking, but I don't know. My wife teaches online. Sometimes I'm like, you're not rounding that up? She's like, no. I'm like, ooh, ouch. But okay. But anyway, whenever she doesn't round a grade up, it's usually after the student has like ignored repeated requests to like finish the homework and take that quiz you didn't take and stuff like that. So they kind of made their own bed, now they're laying in it, you know. But the homework, so there are 200 points for homework. I don't think that the points shown in Canvas are a one-to-one correspondence with those points. Like I think there are more than 200 homework problems that I've assigned you. I would say in a typical college algebra class, you need to do at least about 400 problems in a semester, probably more like 1,000, honestly, to really get good. But I think I've only assigned you about 400 or 500, maybe not that many. But there are 10 homeworks, probably about 400. There are 10 homeworks overall. There are 10 homeworks, and I intend for each one of them to be worth 20 points, okay? So they're due, most weeks, they're due on Saturday at 11:59. Now that does not mean that you have to spend your Saturday night doing your college algebra homework, right? Unless you haven't done it before earlier in the week. Okay, so, and then I think you have like a week to do it for late penalty for 10% off, but it'd be better if you didn't, yeah. You're not on there?
No, yeah, I did, I'm not sure.
Oh, is everybody?
Everyone here is done.
Oh, thank you, that's very helpful. Has everyone signed the attendance sheet? You got it?
Yeah.
You got it, okay. Thank you. I wanted to take a look at that before I run out of class time here. Now the final exam is comprehensive and it's worth 200 points. That'll be at the official university scheduled time, and most likely in this room, okay? I mean, it's always been in the same room. I've been teaching it every time before, so I don't see why it wouldn't be this time. So a little bit more, I should tell you. So for tests, you're allowed to have a scientific calculator, non-graphing. So what I'm talking about is something like, I mean, a TI-30. I've been using this Casio 115ES. I think they're in, it's like EX now, I don't know. You can get it at Walmart for like 20 bucks or something, maybe less, I forget. You used to be able to buy it at Radio Shack for 25, but what's Radio Shack? Some reason they went out of business, I don't know. But anyway, so this is good. It does all your basic arithmetic and stuff like that. Can't allow a graphing calculator on the tests. We don't allow that in 121 here. It's pretty much a department policy. And also, you know, you can't use your phone on the test. Like I know, like outside of academics, like there are apps on your phone which you can do math with, right? But obviously I can't allow those apps on the test, otherwise, you know. It's sort of like how we don't allow people to take a cab during marathons, you know? So it would kind of ruin the purpose of the marathon, right? But, okay, and any questions about structure of the course or anything? Yeah.
Is homework graded on correctness?
Homework is graded on, I mean, homework is, excuse me. The homework is either correct or it's not. I don't think there's partial credit in the homework, but you'll find out if you're right or wrong. I think you have more than one try. I think there's unlimited tries. There's either unlimited tries or 5 tries, so find out soon.
How many questions are each?
Enough? I know there's 50 in the one that's due Saturday. It's usually 40 or 50, sometimes 30. It varies. But you can find out by just clicking and go in Canvas, click on the assignment, and like list questions, you'll know then. But yeah.
I bought the paper book, so like I would be able to do that. Could I just do it on there and like just email it to you?
No, you have to get the My Math Lab and do it through the system, unfortunately. So, other questions? We can talk after class, though. Okay. Yeah. No? Okay. All right, so let's see, hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. Oh, I know what I forgot. A very important point. So the quiz, right, there are 3 quizzes. If you look at this quiz, it's usually a week before my test, right? So what the quiz is, you know, maybe you've had classes before where quizzes are like small little bits, like it's a little bit of the material. My quizzes are not that. My quizzes are really pre-tests. All right, so like quiz 1 is essentially a pre-test for test 1, which means if you ace the quiz, you're probably ready for test 1, right? Now, it's not absolutely everything on the test, but it's pretty close. Sometimes the quizzes will even be harder than the tests. That could happen, all right? For that reason, I usually put a little bit of bonus credit on the quiz. So like my aim is for you, if you had like a 80% understanding on the quiz, you should be able to earn like 90% of the points, something like that, yeah. So there's a little bit of bonus credit I try to throw into the quiz, because I realize that the quiz is coming pretty soon after I've presented the material. All right, so I don't want to be too mean, but on the other hand, I do need to be mean because in the sense that I want you to know if you don't know something when you take that quiz, so that when you take the test, you already had a heads up about it, all right? So, and there's a distinction between the quiz and, say, homework, right? Homework's electronic, which means some of you are just going to kind of like scratch some things on an envelope and put a number into the computer and throw the envelope away afterwards, right? Don't do that, actually. You should try to keep an organized record of your homework work so that when the time for the quiz or the test comes, you can look back at what you did before and, you know, grow from it. So that's one thing. The quiz it's comprehensive up to the point of the quiz, really, even sometimes past the point of the quiz. The quiz will cover all of the material that's on the test that follows it, okay? And the quiz is it's on paper in class. I'm hoping I have a grader who helped me grade it. I will post solutions to the quiz so you can look at what right answers would have looked like. There is partial credit to your question about partial credit in the back. What was your name?
Carly.
Carly. Okay, so Carly is basically asking me if I get partial credit. The answer is yes. I want people to pass college algebra. Yes, I get partial credit. So there is partial credit on quizzes. There is partial credit on tests. There is partial credit on the final exam. As long as I'm not asking multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions don't have partial credit, right? But I don't typically ask many multiple choice questions. So there is partial credit on the quizzes and the tests, even the final, but there's not really partial credit on homework. And the participation, it's pretty much pass or fail. All right, so just come, do it, you'll be fine. Does that make sense? If you look at the announcement I made, I gave you a link to my personal webpage, and if you click in there, you'll see that I have like a college algebra webpage, and I taught this class like 2011, so it's pretty much the same course. We were using a different book then, and the organization of the course was slightly different. But if you look, you can see some of my old tests from back then. And I am a creature of habit, so you know, the test I'll give you probably will be somewhat overlapping with those. If you wanted to look at them, you could. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing. I keep burying the lead. For the quiz, you're allowed to bring 1 page of notes, front and back. Otherwise, it is closed notes, closed book, right? It is a timed test. Every so often I have a student who comes to me and says, I didn't think the test was timed. My previous institution, we didn't have time on our tests. It's like, well, we have timed tests here, all right? So you need to take that into mind. Now, of course, if you have a ODAS accommodation, then we work something out, that's fine. But the default is things are timed in here, right? And so you're allowed a page of notes, front and back, in my quizzes, all right? And that same page you can bring to the test. So you get a page of notes, front and back, for the test as well. For the final, I let you bring 3 pages. My intent for you is basically to organize your thinking for the course into 3 summary pages that you can bring with you to the final, all right? So that way, when you need something like I'm about to write on the middle board, if you forget it for whatever reason, then you can look on your page and go, oh, okay, that's what that was, all right? So I would encourage you, don't wait to make that page. Start making it as you're doing your homework. As you identify things that you have to look up, anything you have to look up, that's something you should think about writing on that page, right? All right, so let's get into the math unless there are other questions. No? Okay. So I am my own worst cameraman. I'm going to let you guys take over from here. Okay, so if I go over there, can you, oh, sorry, laptops. Next time I'll get here a little bit earlier and I'll move the chairs apart so I can actually walk to it. I have to get here earlier, my bad. Okay, so factoring. You guys remember factoring, right? So there's a couple of basic formulas I should remind you. These we should always keep in mind as we're working factoring problems. The one is the difference of squares. A squared minus b squared is a minus b times a plus b. So this is the difference of squares formula. And then there's also a difference of cubes formula. let's see here. Am I right or am I wrong about that? I'm wrong. So how do I know I'm wrong? Well, I thought about multiplying it out. I thought about multiplying this side out, and if I multiply it out, I don't get back where I started, you know? So in fact, what I was supposed to do here is put a minus here, and I think I just put pluses over here. So just to, to show you why that's true, if you multiply this times this, I get minus BA squared. And then this gives me a plus AAB, which is also BA squared. So this times that and that times that cancel. And also, if we do B squared A, I get plus BA squared A from this times this, and I get minus B squared A from that times that. So the cross terms cancel, and I'm just left with A cubed minus B cubed. All right? Okay. And there's also a sum of cubes formula. I believe this one's A plus B, and then A minus A squared minus AB plus B squared. And again, you can check me on it. If you multiply BA squared, that term cancels with this A times AB, which gives me minus AB A squared B. Anyway, these are three. I would put these on my sheet of remembrance if I were you. Okay? Now, the thing that really matters most to factoring, of course, is just this basic rule, which is that A times B plus C is what? It's AB plus AC, right? That's really the thing we use over and over again for factoring. This is the distributive property. Okay? So factoring is what? It's multiplication in reverse, right? So let's look at some examples. How about x squared minus 100? Can you factor this? So let me suggest that we look at this as x squared minus 10 squared. All right? And if we do that, then we can use this difference of squares formula, right? So that's x minus 10 times x plus 10. There you go. Factored. Okay. That one wasn't too bad. Let's look at something a little bit sneakier. What if we had like 9 z squared minus 6? Well, this one requires a little bit more imagination, but we can still use difference of squares on it. All right? So look at it this way. 9z squared is really 3z parentheses, right? Squared. How do you write 6 as a square? How about this? Isn't 6 the square root of 6 squared? So that may or may not have ever been emphasized in your previous algebra course, right? There's like a lot of previous algebra courses that tend to just work with integers and they avoid square roots a lot. But we will do square roots in here, so I'm, showing you. And so there we go. Now, so basically I'm saying A is 3z here, and is the patterns A is 3z, and the B is the square root of 6 with respect to this pattern, right? And so we can factor 3z minus the square root of 6, 3z plus the square root of 6. There you go. Factored. Let's do another problem, which is more like a lot of the problems you faced in your previous algebra class. Let's see here. How about this one? X squared plus 3x plus 2. how do you, well, this is, all right, this is not one of these patterns, right? Like, it's not difference of squares. There's 3 terms. So what I do is I make myself like a template, like this, and then I start thinking about what numbers can I put in there, right? 2 is what? It's 1 times 2, or we could do minus 2 times minus 1. I think this one, we should just do what? I think just what? Plus 1, plus 2. Now, how do we judge whether or not we're right? We have to think about multiplying it, right? So if you think about multiplying this out, some of you might have said FOIL it, you know. We've got x times x, which is x squared. We've got 1 times 2, which is 2, right? Great. 1 times x, that's x. X times 2, that's 2x. 1x plus 2x is 3x, which is what we have. Hooray. Right. You guys can do this one? You're all good? See, the homework should be a breeze then. Like, a lot of it's this. All right. Example 4. X squared minus 4x plus 5. So can you do this one? So how do we get minus 5? We could either do 1 times 5, excuse me, 1 times minus 5, right? Or minus 1 times 5. Those are the sort of natural, easy choices if we're not working with square roots and such. So what do you guys want to do? 1 and minus 5 or minus 5 and 1? A minus 5 and 1. I think that makes sense because we've got a negative thing here, so we want the minus on the bigger number. So when we multiply this out, we get minus 5x and then plus x. We get back x squared minus 4x plus 5. So it's factored, right? So every problem I'm doing right now, I haven't written the instructions, right? But the instructions that are implicit in these problems are factor the given expression, right? So example 5, how about this one? X squared plus 4x plus 5. Factor this one then. Here, I'll start you out. Here's your x. Take a swing at it. See what you can do.
So when you go to factor back out for that example 4 and you do negative 5 times 1, wouldn't that be negative 5 instead of 5?
Oh. Oh no, you guys are. Yowzers. I meant. Okay. So this is something that only I am allowed to do. So thank you. The question, the problem as we solved it was wrong. I was too close to the board. I wasn't thinking. So minus 5 times 1 is minus 5. I had a plus here before. That was that was not right. If I put a plus 5 there, well, here, I'll try to work it down here. So what did you guys tell me? It was x times what? X? What's that? Plus 4 minus 1? See, that won't work. I mean, I have to have numbers here and here that multiply to give me 5, right? If I try 1 and 5, it doesn't work because that gives me 6. If I try minus 5 and minus 1, that gives me a minus 6. What's that?
Minus 5 plus 1.
Minus, so like minus 5 plus 1 here. See if I multiply that out. Oh, that works, doesn't it? Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I talked myself out of that, and I obviously shouldn't have. So, very good, very good. Thank you. Let's call that example 4 tilde. There you go. Yes?
How do you get, if
negative 5 times 1. How did you get?
Oh, I've been fished into it again. I can't have this plus here with a minus and a 1. Ah! So I was tricked. So yes, look, minus 5 times 1 is not, this doesn't work, right? I have to either put, my choices are minus on both places, right? Or a plus on both places, neither of which work, right? Because this one gives me x squared minus 6x plus 5, and this one gives me x squared plus 6x plus 5, neither of which are x squared minus 4x plus 5. So example 4 tilde doesn't seem like it can be factored. Anybody successful in factoring this one yet? What's going on here? Why can't we factor these? It's not just me making a mistake. It's not just you not seeing a possibility. It is in fact mathematically impossible to factor these over the real numbers. These are what are called prime polynomials. So this is actually prime or irreducible. So some of your homeworks, it will tell you, factor if possible, otherwise mark prime. So it gives you like a multiple choice kind of deal. And so if this was one of the problems in the homework, you'd be like, oh, this is prime. How do you know which one's prime though? Because like, look, does this look so different than this? I mean, it's almost the same exact numbers, right? How do you decide whether a polynomial is prime or not? Yep. No pluses and minuses. If it's all pluses or all minuses. But these are all pluses, and it could factor. Can't get factors of 5 out of the 4. I mean, something like that might be a relevant comment here, but there's something easier and overarching I can tell you. There's a theorem. Here it is. The polynomial ax squared plus bx plus c is prime when b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. This is called the discriminant. You may remember, if the discriminant is negative, the polynomial is prime. So you can check this. Sorry about that. I'll eventually get out of this thing. Why are smartphones so dumb? Probably a realtor. Okay, anyway. So let me put this into practice. So if we have x squared plus 4x plus 5, look at this. We've got a equals to 1, b equals to 4, c equals to 5. All right? So a, b, and c are the coefficients of this quadratic polynomial, yeah? And if you identify them, there's 1, 4, and 5 for my example 5. And so what is b squared minus 4ac in this context? It's 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5, which is what? 16 minus 20, also known as negative 4, right? So that's less than 0. So therefore, x squared plus 4x plus 5 is prime. And that's isn't it nice to have a result like that? Because it is, a little bit disconcerting. I mean, how do you know that you're done factoring? Just because it doesn't work for you, does that mean it doesn't work for somebody else? How do you know when you're done factoring? This one, x squared minus 4x minus 5, has what? A equals 1, b equals minus 4, and c equals minus 5. Right, now that's my example 4, right? What happens here? We get minus 4. What is minus 4 squared? Minus 4 squared is 16, right? The minus kills itself. Sorry about that. I should send it to a counselor or something. Plus 20. Sorry, I should behave. Plus 20, so that's, 36. Hey, that's what? That's greater than 0. Okay, so if the discriminant is positive, in fact, that means you can factor it. Now, you might need square roots, and it might be ugly, but you can factor it. All right? Any questions? So if I were you, I would also have this on my sheet, right? Because this is a nice tool. If you feel like, hey, this factoring's not working out, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's because it's a prime polynomial. So this class ends at 3:10, right? Oh, 3 o'clock. Okay. 6. How about this one? What if we have x squared plus 6x plus 9? Can you guys factor this one? While you're working on that, let me copy down a... Oh, I'll just... Let's see here. Okay, so the example 6, what do? We do what? X plus 3 and x plus 3 again, right? This is the so-called repeated case, right? The double, if we're looking at this corresponding equation, it would be a double root. If you calculated the discriminant in this case, it would have been 0. But anyway, so there you go, factored. Either this or that would be a fine answer. Yeah, same thing, different notation. How about example 7? Can you guys tell me about 125? What is that? It's a, let's see here, is it, what's 5 times 5? 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5? Yeah, it's 5 cubed. 125 is 5 cubed. 15 squared is 225, I think. So x cubed plus 5 cubed, how do we factor that? Well, that's a really, really mean question, unless you know this formula right here, in which case it is a walk in the park. See, because all we have to do is look at this pattern, right? And put a equal to x and b equal to 5. I'll write it here again. What was it? Forgotten it already. Oh, yeah. A plus b. This is actually something I don't have memorized. I know the patterns like this, and I always like write it down and check on it whenever I need to use it. So whatever, but so this is x plus 5. And then we've got x squared minus 5x. What's 5 squared? 5 squared is 25, yeah. And so there you go. That is the factorization of x cubed plus 125 over the real numbers. Now, if we were working over complex numbers, we could further break down the quadratic. Like every quadratic can be factored using complex numbers. We'll look at that eventually in here. But here's a pro tip for you. Whenever you do one of these cubics, the resulting quadratic here, it always ends up being prime. Okay, so there's like one real 0 for this kind of cubic if you set it equal to 0. But anyway, so there's that. Now, there are other problems in your homework on factoring, which I haven't gotten to today, which we'll hopefully cover next time, like factoring by grouping, but maybe another 10 minutes on factoring, then we'll go on to rational expressions. So nice to meet all of you. I hope you're having an enjoyable first day of classes.